Good evening, everyone. 2026. As you know, I have spoken about it over and over again. I have blogged about it. I continue to blog about it. Is a year of major transformations. But it goes beyond just transformation. Every single calendar year brings about transformation and changes. That goes without saying. 2026, as I said the last time, is not just a calendar year. It's a portal taking us into a completely new energy. And that is why 2026 is a year of vibrational shift. Not only will each one of us experience this vibrational shift, but our world at large will certainly go through an undeniable, very palpable, sometimes not very pleasant, but all of this will be part of a vibrational shift. December 12th of 2025 brought in the first opening, the very first moment of a new 2000-year cycle. Do understand that energy shifts very, very loosely align to our calendar year. So the new era that is born took birth on 12th December of 25. Since then, the vibrational shifts have only accelerated. Many have come back to me saying, something's not quite feeling right, or something's feeling different. And these are not people who I would generally term as very energy sensitive. They are more grounded in practicality. And even they somehow feel something's different. And this is exactly what is going to happen. All of us will feel these vibrational shifts. And they may happen to us in different ways through different experiences, but none of that really matters. What matters is that we remain open and receptive to these vibrational shifts. And why is it important to be open and receptive? Because however much you resist, the shifts are going to take place. That part of the cosmic plan is entirely out of our hands. So what is in our hands? What is in our hands is how we respond to these vibrational shifts. In fact, the more you resist them, the greater shall be the force that the energies shall have to push towards you, against you, so that you come into coherence with the shift. Whenever there is a shift, forget about massive vibrational shifts like we are going to face, like we are already facing. Whenever there is any kind of energy shift, there are certain uncomfortable consequences certain uncomfortable feedback from our emotions, from our physical systems, from our thoughts and beliefs. And this is part of a process of change, which I think you and I are now spiritually mature enough to take in our stride. So let's not get bothered by these few things that will take place. In fact, let us look at them with the correct perspective. And the correct perspective is, whenever there is an unpleasant feedback, whether it comes through health or emotion or relationship or career or house or wealth or whatever, sit back and remember that this unpleasant feedback is coming to you in order to help you redirect your course. It's coming to you to draw your attention to certain patterns that are not in coherence with your soul's direction, your soul's need, your soul's urging. So instead of resisting the unpleasantness or the discomfort, instead of labeling it as a problem, a difficulty, a challenge, receive them. Receive them with wisdom. Receive them with awareness. Here is something trying to draw my attention. What is it drawing my attention to? And the joyous part of it is, as soon as you ask this question, which is the most pertinent question to ask, what is it drawing my attention to? That so-called problem will begin to dissipate. Solutions will start appearing. People will start coming into your life who will be able to help you out. And only because that question has pushed you into coherence with your soul. Through the year, as I told you last week, being coherent is going to be the most important thing we do for ourselves, which means coherence between words, thoughts, actions, feelings, beliefs, coherence between who we are in earthly life, in daily life, and who we essentially are as souls. All of this has to be in complete coherence. In order to change, in order for Earth to be supported through its change, the cosmos always brings planets that will help that change, that will facilitate that change. Those of you who have been working on your soul blueprints with me for a while, you know how the planets completely support your personal growth, how they bring you lessons which you are supposed to learn, how they facilitate the soul contracts. And if the planets can help each one of us individually, can you imagine the far greater energy support that planets would give Earth in this very crucial vibrational shift? And so today we're going to talk about how the planets are so amazingly coming together in order to focus their energies, fine-tune this focus upon the exact shifts that Earth is demanding of herself and of each one of us. So let's start with this. But before that, whether you believe in astrology or not, whether you read books that center around mysticism, whether you look at history, right, from a pure prosaic historical viewpoint, you will find that after every so many years, human civilization changes. A completely new human era is born. And you and I are so eternally blessed that we are in living existence today, witnessing this shift of momentous proportions. A 2,000-year cycle has come to an end. And a new 2,000-year cycle has begun. And you and I are witnessing both the death and the rebirth. I don't know about you. I feel hugely honored, hugely grateful that my soul chose me to be alive in this momentous, with this momentous happening. In Indian scriptures, this 2,000-year cycle has been called Kali Yuga and Satyug. So we've come to the end of Kali Yuga. We've come to the end, the death. And we will see how very clearly Pluto in its movement has supported that death. So Kali Yuga has come to an end and Satyug has begun. But at present, we are in a kind of a bridge state, right? One 2,000-year cycle has just come to an end, and another one has just opened its doors. So Earth itself, and of course each one of us living on Earth, we are in this kind of, I won't call it limbo, but we are in a state where we are 1 foot there and 1 foot here, and our world seems to be rocky. We don't quite align with everything we believed in. Things that we assumed would be solid as concrete is suddenly showing cracks. Things that we believed were true are being exposed as untrue. We are all wondering what to believe in anymore. In a very practical way, the news media, we know very clearly, is feeding us whatever the powers that might be want the media to feed us. And then whether you are in India or America or Russia or wherever you are, there is no media or very little media that is telling you the truth. So what we assumed was true is now being exposed, completely exposed to us as untrue. People who we thought were rock solid, we suddenly find they have feet of clay. Those we might have voted into power because they said certain things and they held on to certain beliefs that aligned with ours, we now find that their beliefs and ours are completely divergent. So our world is rocking, and it doesn't really know where it is going to stabilize, and it doesn't really know when it is going to stabilize. All of this rocking is coming through the planets. So let's dive into that. The first planet I want to discuss really is Neptune. And Neptune has come into Aries in January, less than a month ago, and is now going to be in Aries for the next 14 years. Now, another interesting fact, Neptune has come into Aries after 160 years. It would be interesting if you are a history buff, for you to go back into history and do some research and figure out what was taking place in the world 160 years ago. What were the big changes that took place? And what were the changes that took place 160 years before that? Because when Neptune comes into Aries, Neptune dissolves a part of the ego, and Neptune brings us closer to our soul energy, and it does that with every civilization. So remember the coherence that I just spoke of, being our energies being in coherent with our soul energies. Neptune in Aries is facilitating that. It is doing everything it can to dissolve our ego states and bring us in alignment with our soul journeys. So it's this planet of dissolution, but it has a different way of doing it. It dissolves our ego through spiritual surrender. It asks us to understand the bigness of spirit at work and to surrender to that spirit at work. But also because it's in Aries, which is the sign of action, which is the sign of direct action, it asks you not to be passive. Now, this may seem to you like a paradox, but it really isn't. Surrender is one of the most active things you could do. It is not passive at all. And so, as this new era begins with Neptune opening the door, Neptune asks you not to be passive in your spirituality. And this is such a huge message for you and I. We have to stop talking the good things. We've got to stop feeling great because we've meditated every day. We've got to stop feeling goody two shoes because we know some energy healing. Neptune is saying, what difference does that make? How is your meditation helping you? How is your meditation helping the world? This is a very hard truth that Neptune is hitting out at us and dissolving our ego. How is your spirituality really helping the world? How is your spirituality really changing your life? Because if it was really changing your life would be problem-free. Which means there's something we are doing wrong. So instead of meditating, instead of talking about healing, instead of gathering in groups and feeling great because we are talking sacred, holy cow conversation, Neptune is saying, pull up your socks and live your spirituality. If you are talking about not being judgmental, don't be judgmental. If you are talking about someone else's misuse of power, don't misuse your own power. Become aware of how you are misusing it. Because the outside world is a mirror of who you are. What a hard-hitting statement of Neptune in Aries. The outside world is a mirror of who you are. Yes, all the outer planets have huge support for the globe, for the earth at large. But don't forget that when they emanate their energies in order to support earth, you and I are taking in those energies first. So mind that ego. Neptune is saying, are you becoming spiritually arrogant? Are you really helping others? In what way are you helping others? If you are meditating for peace, and then the next day you are talking disparagingly about someone else, there is no spirituality here, because what you are actively promoting is aggression. When you talk disparagingly about someone, there is aggression. So forget about your meditation for peace, because it's useless. It's not going to work, because that's not who you are. So Neptune in Aries is saying, live your spirituality, don't talk about it. Don't go running to classes, one and the other and a second and a third, if you're not going to follow them. Instead of learning how to heal, go out there and heal that person outside your door. Do whatever you can to heal that person. This is Neptune in Aries. Dissolve your ego and be in coherence with your spirit. Stop trying to escape. Stop fantasizing. Merely talking of things is not going to change anything. In fact, not being active in our spirituality is seen by the universe as resistance. And remember what I just said, the more you resist, the more it shall push. And now we come to Saturn. You see, Neptune has opened the door. Neptune has brought in a new era. Saturn now strengthens the era. It gives it feet. It anchors it in practical life. Saturn is the planet that looks after, that monitors, that supervises the old order. It doesn't mean that it continues to keep the old order even when there is no need. Oh no, that's not Saturn. Saturn will keep that old order in place till as long as it is needed. As soon as Saturn realizes vibrational shifts, the old order has to fall, Saturn changes and uses all its energies not to maintain the order, but to collapse it. Now, this is where our earth is shaking. Why is it shaking? Because Saturn entered Aries. Yes, Saturn and Neptune are in conjunction. They are sitting cheek by jowl. Saturn and Neptune are in conjunction. Very, very important. Both in Aries, which is about direct action. Saturn entered Aries in May of 2025. So, of course, we have seen how the collapses have taken place. Whether we are looking at political scenarios, economic scenarios, we are looking at businesses, Saturn has already started the collapse. Now, because Saturn is in Aries, some of this collapse can come in a very tough manner. It can come through military intervention. It can come through conflict. It can come through internal rebellion. It can come through warfare. Are we or are we not already seeing all of this? Whether we look at our borders, whether we look at America, whether we look at Russia and Ukraine, whether we look at Iran, whether we look at Iraq, are we not witnessing this? The collapse has already begun. People have asked me, when will these war ends? And I said, not for a long time. We have another at least 2 years. Because Saturn leaves Aries in April, May of 2028. Till then, wherever the old order is trying to dig its heels in, Saturn will create huge earthquakes. And these earthquakes could come through rebellion, revolution, warfare. Because the old order has to fall. And the old order will not fall easily. No one lets go easily. Whether we are looking at a personal relationship, which we just cling on to, or we look at a political seat, or we look at governance, no one lets go easily. No one lets go gracefully. We always have some reason, which is not a reason at all. It's only an excuse to cling on. So when Saturn and Neptune come together, which happens every 36 years, Saturn and Neptune come together every 36 years. And every time they come together, listen to this. Remember, Neptune, spiritual surrender, shifting of spiritual energies. Saturn bringing down the old order. And whenever Saturn and Neptune come together, humanity as a whole is given a completely new blueprint. Humanity as a whole changes spiritual direction. And its spiritual evolution accelerates with this conjunction, which is happening right here, right now. When Saturn is in Aries, it also brings about one very important question, which we actually discussed in the Catalyst talk last week. Who am I? And who am I choosing to be? Why is this question important? Aries is about identity. What is your identity? So on a very personal level, Saturn in Aries is going to ask you to define and redefine your identity. If you are constantly trying to escape, if you are busy, so busy socializing that you cannot have time for yourself, if you are escaping into social media and endlessly scrolling, Saturn is going to draw your attention in a very strong way. Before Saturn can do that, it would be wise for each one of us to redefine ourselves, to let go of that old definition. It is no longer true anymore. And now we come to Uranus. Uranus in Gemini. Now, Uranus is going to come into Gemini in April of 26. So we still have a few months before Uranus comes into Gemini. At present, Uranus is in Taurus. Let's look at how this fits in beautifully with Saturn in Aries. Uranus at present is in Taurus. Taurus is a sign of the earth, very practical, solid earth. Uranus is a disruptor. It disrupts everything. How do you recognize whether a disruption is a Uranus disruption? If it happens very suddenly, Uranus is at work. Uranus does not take time. It does not bring the changes slowly. This is not working. It needs to be disrupted. Let's do it now. Done. This is why we have seen global events in the last few years happening all of a sudden. Investments that we thought were rock solid overnight have just crashed. Things that we believed, organizations and businesses that we believed would never fall, have shut their doors. Heads that we thought, heads of industry, heads of economics, heads of politics, that we respected, we suddenly find that they were not real, they were not true. There was a facade behind which they were hiding. So Uranus brings complete disruption, and it shall continue to bring disruption. Now, the disruption that it caused in Taurus, which means the disruption in money, in wealth, in actual Uranus and Taurus can also bring about earthquakes, which we saw so many of, right? Because it works with the earth itself. That is going to come to an end in April. And in April, we see Uranus entering into Gemini, where it is going to stay for the next 7 years. Gemini is a sign of communication. It is about language, how we speak, the words we use. It's about social media. It's about the news media. It's about AI. There is going to be massive disruption in this. Massive disruption. It is going to bring to the fore the lies that have at present remained hidden. It is going to bring to us falsehood in our face. But remember what I said. What happens to earth first happens to you. It passes through you. My beautiful friends, if there is a mask or a disguise you are wearing, if there is a falsehood you are seeking to escape behind, if you are trying to stay safe by resorting to untruth, please stop now. Because when Uranus comes, Uranus disrupts harshly. Your falsehood, your mask, your untruth is going to one night, just overnight, explode for the world to see. You will not know what to do then. We still have time till April to change the way we speak, we write, we interact, we behave, we relate to each other. If you cannot speak the truth, say nothing at all. Find the courage to be who you really are. Find the courage to voice what you really feel. Find the courage to express what your emotions truly are. Do not try to be one of the crowd and go along with the herd so that you feel safe. Because it won't work. It will come crashing down. AI will find itself being completely disrupted. We shall find AI being used in many, many, many different ways. The joy is every time there is a technological improvement, AI will be used for the benefit of humanity. And that is this amazing disruption that is coming, where AI is not going to be used as a power tool, as a control tool. As soon as Uranus comes into Gemini, we are going to see these changes happening in social media, in the news media. We are going to see even the news media not ready anymore to be silenced. The news media is not going to accept suppression. They're going to rise above that. And Saturn in Aries will help, because the political orders, the economic orders, the industrial orders that existed, that suppressed, that controlled, will fall. And the rebellions and the revolutions will start with the people's voice being heard. Please don't think I'm making any predictions. I am not. I am no fortune teller. I am only looking at the planetary movements. But what it demands of Earth, the planet will demand of you. How are you using AI? How are you using your voice? How are you using your written word? Are you using it to empower yourself, empower others? Or are you using it to, forgive my French, are you using it to ass lick? Very important. Very, very, very important. Uranus also helps Neptune, where Neptune is telling us, stop the passivity in your spirituality, in your so-called spirituality, and be active, live it, Uranus tells us the same thing. Uranus says that any of these meditations that you are doing, where you are getting lost in some la-la land, all of this has to stop, because otherwise Uranus is going to come down and say, sorry, you can't meditate. Every time you sit to meditate, something will happen. You won't be able to meditate because your meditation is erroneous. It has to change now. The meditation has to be a living meditation. Your every moment, in fact, this is what JadeFire has been saying for decades. Sitting for those few moments of meditation is pointless if the rest of your day you do not live it. And this is what Uranus helps Neptune with. Uranus gives you the strength, gives you the courage, gives you the energy to be mindful here and now. Uranus in Gemini tells you, if you do not do even one moment of meditation, it is fine. If every moment you are mindful of your word, your actions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your feelings, and you are mindful that they are in coherence with your soul energy. If you are doing that in every moment, you do not need a moment's meditation, because that is the meditation. So now we come to, yes, this is what I have written, very important, so I will bring that up. Uranus in Gemini tells you to take a lot of care of your nervous system. As the earth shifts, as the vibrations shift so dramatically, anxiety will rise. Mental health issues will skyrocket. Even those who have never felt any anxiety will suddenly start feeling anxious. Nervous breakdowns are likely to happen. So you and I have to regulate our nervous systems. Our nervous systems become like our communicator. They communicate to us the truth and the untruth, which means what is true is in coherence with my soul. What is untrue for me is not in coherence with your soul. And all of this will start happening through your nervous system. You'll get an opportunity, let us say, as a promotion, and suddenly your body is feeling tight and knotted. And you're wondering, this is what I've been waiting for so long. Why am I reacting this way? Because that promotion is not in coherence with your soul direction. Listen to your body. Listen to your nervous system. Your nervous system will now be very, very finely tuned. You will not have the excuse of saying, oh, I can't listen to my intuition. That is now not an excuse you can use, because your intuition will speak to you not only through your nervous system, but through your physical body. Through your physical body. So regulate your nervous system, which means forget about mindless, meaningless meditations. Instead, do breath work. Do Ho'oponopono. Do emotional freedom technique. Right? Journal so that you are speaking the truth. You're not letting the truth be suppressed. And do the same for others. Help them to move onto that path of their truth, not by you pushing your truth or your views onto them. Helping them to uncover their truth, helping them to regulate their nervous system, helping them to listen to their bodies. And then we come to Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter enters Leo in June. I hope you've read my 2 blogs. Tomorrow I will bring out the blog of Uranus. I've already brought out the blog of Jupiter in Cancer. I've already brought out the blog of Saturn. Tomorrow will come Uranus. Please read all 3. At present, Jupiter is in Cancer. In June, it goes into Leo. Let's understand both. Jupiter is the planet that gives you expansion. But expansion doesn't always mean a great thing. Expansion also means amplification. So, right now in Cancer, if there is lack of self-love, if there is lack of self-nurturance, if there is lack of self-belief, if there is lack of emotional anchorage, if there is emotional immaturity, if there is emotional instability, Jupiter shall amplify it for you. And you will ask me, but then what gift is Jupiter giving me? It's giving you an amazing gift. It's giving you the gift of love. When your lack of self-love is amplified, when your lack of emotional maturity is amplified, when your lack of internal care is amplified for you, you begin to realize that you are an emotionally needy person, that you are depending on others to be happy. And that is never going to take place. You will never be truly happy till as long as you depend upon another, because the only person who can make you feel loved, who can make you feel secured, who can make you feel nurtured, who can make you feel happy is yourself. So seek out the help if you don't know how to go about it. Go to a spiritual counselor or a mentor. Go to a traditional therapist who can help you. Find your way. Find your person. But right now you have to focus upon self. Because as soon as June comes and Jupiter goes into Leo, Jupiter is going to demand leadership from you. And where there is no leadership, Jupiter will amplify the weakness. So how are you going to be a leader if you cannot nurture yourself, if you cannot love yourself, if you cannot be emotionally mature and strong, if you are making excuses to remain in a relationship which is not working for you? Because that is your weakness. And come June and the months to come, Jupiter remains in a sign for 1 year. And that year might be very difficult for you if you cannot take up your personal authority. Oh, I have heard so many excuses. I can't leave because of my children. I can't do this because I don't have money. You can if you love yourself. You can if you love yourself. The first thing is to love yourself and then find the way. But in order to stay on in relationships that are broken, we find excuses instead of finding the way. And Cancer is about your relationship with yourself, which is then mirrored in the relationships you are in. And Leo is asking you to be your own leader, be your own boss. Because if by then you are not your own boss, wow, are you going to find it difficult to withstand and tolerate the oppression that will come your way. Not as a punishment, never as a punishment, but as a gift to tell you, redirect your steps. This is not in coherence with your soul. So June, Jupiter brings about leadership changes. Remember Saturn and the old order falling? Jupiter comes in and said, Saturn, you bring down the old order and I'll bring in new leaders. As soon as Jupiter goes into Leo, Jupiter urges all of us to have one kind of meditation. Remember, Leo is a very, very spiritual energy as well. It monitors our intuition and our creativity. What is this meditation that Jupiter in Leo will demand of us? A meditation of laughter, a meditation of music, a meditation of art, a meditation of dance. That is how your creativity, your inner joy, your inner child shall find its spontaneity. And this is going to come through Jupiter in Leo. And then we come to Pluto. Pluto has been in Aquarius. I just mentioned Pluto right at the beginning, and here I'm coming back to it, and we end with that. Pluto has been in Aquarius since 2023. Pluto brings the death of one era and a rebirth of another. Throw your mind back. The last 2 to 3 years, what we have been witnessing is the dying era. Yes, it seems as though the struggles are getting more. The violence is getting more. It seems like that, and it is getting more. Because when the old order is falling, it resists with all its might. As you and I do. Let's be honest. As you and I do. Aquarius is not a peaceful sign. Have you realized that none of the planets are in the peaceful signs like Virgo? None of them. They are in the hard-hitting signs. Aries, Leo, Aquarius. Fire element. Let it burn. Out of the ashes shall rise the phoenix. Let it burn. So Aquarius is not a peaceful sign. Aquarius brings rebellion, revolution, newness, thinking out of the box. Stop thinking in the same small-minded manner. Pluto is saying, it's done. We have to now think out of the box. And what is that out of the box? We have to think without fear. We have to think about others and ourselves. We have to think abundantly. Not let me be safe and secure. but knowing that I am always safe. What a change. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to demand a lot out of you. Your beliefs have to fall. That is going to be your death and rebirth. And when each one of us, our individual beliefs fall, the beliefs of the world changes. And if they don't change, Pluto in Aquarius has no problem forcing the change upon you. Creating events where you will ask yourself, I believed this, but is that really right? So when we have Jupiter and Pluto and Uranus and Neptune all coming together in this amazing positions, the question we have to ask ourselves, and I left you with one question last time, and I'm going to leave you this week with another question. Who is controlling me? No, I'm going to reframe that question. What is controlling me? Because if you say XYZ is controlling me, the answer is wrong. You are allowing XYZ to control you because of something else. So I reframe my question. Every day, spend a few minutes of true meditation to ask yourself, what is controlling me? What is controlling me? What controls my beliefs? What controls my emotions? What controls my words? What is controlling me? That's the question for this week. Thank you for being with me. Thank you so much for being with me. If there are any questions only pertaining to the talk, I will take them very, very briefly because I know I have way overshot, but I didn't want to do this in a hurry. This was an important subject.
Elle, can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely, Priya.
It was a lot of information.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is possible, but what I would love is like the top 3 points I must remember.
What is it that I want to end in my life? What is it that I choose to become? What is stopping me from doing these two?
And the planets are supporting that at a rapid
Very
rate.
rapid, very rapid. So what I have started doing now with my personal clients, especially the clients who work with me with their soul charts, is now looking at their personal transits and their personal soul charts and seeing where the alignment is with the planetary global movements. Okay, I know it's a lot, and I know you guys probably want to take it all in. And I think this is the reason why JF urged me to record today, because I have said no recordings for these, but he urged me right when I was sitting down and getting ready for it. He said, start a recording. So I have done a recording, and I shall share it with you because I know it's a lot. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being with me, and I apologize for the time it has taken, and thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Elle. Thank you so much.
And see you again next week.